Everyone wants more money, but most of us weren't taught how to create an abundant life. That's where the law of attraction, manifesting success stories show comes in. If you are ready to have more money, create more freedom, and experience more fun, turn the volume up. It's time to learn how to create the prosperity and life you have been dreaming of. Here's your host, Cassie Parks.
Hello and welcome to this episode. I am your host, Cassie Parks, and I am back with Kimberly. This is the third in this series of interviews about the last 60 days of Kimberly's life. We're catching up on all the growth and the awesome, and you've heard a lot in the last couple of weeks, but what else is awesome, Kimberly? Like, what is just awesome right now?
I'm getting everything I ever wanted, and it's so easy.
Yay! That is so awesome. Oh.
Yeah. My husband asked me out on a date on Saturday for yesterday, and he took me to dinner and he bought me chocolates, and it was just random and fun and easy.
Yay, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that. Very cool. Everything you want with ease. That is so awesome.
And I sometimes have to pinch myself.
Yeah. I love that. I think that's a perfect introduction. So we're going to talk about stepping into your coach self today. And I do this too. Like, I'll be like, oh, everything is so easy, because sometimes when you get past those hard moments, because they don't last long. We talked about the tools last episode. We talked about continually navigating back to our path, to our future self, letting our future self guide us. Which makes it really easy to forget the bumps or the hard things or the moments that were a little hard, right?
Yes.
And for you, one of those moments what had to do with coaching. And so let's talk about that.
Okay.
And becoming a coach.
Yes. Oh my gosh. And I think because it's so recent. Well, I'll say a month ago, recent. But I was so frustrated. I'm like, oh my God. And I'm just going to say it. I'm like, I'm never going to fucking get this. Oh my God, I'm never going to be a coach. What the hell? And I was like, I was so frustrated. And I was like, this is supposed to be easy. Like, this is what I want. Why is it so hard? And all the things.
Mm-hmm.
And I just kept setting it down and picking it up, setting it down and picking it up. And I kept saying, Cassie, what am I missing? I'm missing something. What am I missing? Like, I knew something was missing. I didn't know what it was, but I was so focused on something was missing that I didn't allow it space to show up.
Right.
And then you asked me a question, or it wasn't really even a question. It was more of a statement, I think.
Yeah.
You said, decide that you can do this. And oh my God, that opened the floodgates. I was like, okay, that like brought instant tears. Like, I cried. And I'm like, I got to go feel some feelings about this. I don't know what this is all about, but I'm like, and then it moved into, oh, that's interesting. I don't want to fail. Like, this is the one thing in my life that my pattern was, I'm good at failing. I know how it feels. I'm comfortable there. Let's stay there. It's easy.
Right? It's easy. Just pick a new thing.
Yeah. Just pick a new thing, chase the next thing, no problem. But being a coach, I'm probably going to get emotional here. I want that at the core of who I am. Like, that's something that I want to do. It's almost like I need to do it. And I'm not chasing it. I just want it at such a deep level that I knew I can't fail at this. And for the first time, I actually was afraid that I was going to fail. And that wasn't an option.
Right.
There wasn't something after this. Yes, I have my art, but I can't have art and not have it. You know what I mean? It's like, I have to have both. I want both of those things. And so I set down what I was doing, and then we had a conversation. I didn't recognize that based on the energy work and the healing work that I did before, I had this mindset that I have to fix everything. I have to go deeper. And I didn't know how to connect and be right there in the moment. And I'm still learning that because it's new.
Yeah.
But realizing that this is something that I want and that I need to set it down so that I can I'm going to say come at it from a different angle, but show up differently than what I was doing in the past. So yeah, there was a lot of growing there. I think I don't actually think I honored that.
Yeah, that
as
was
much
huge.
It was really big. I think I felt the feelings around it, so maybe it didn't feel as big in the moment.
Yeah.
But looking back on it now, it's like that is huge.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I might have to sit with that for our interview.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was huge. And part of it was when I said decide, I'll break this down a little more from decide, then it's when you make that decision, like, okay, yeah, I'm good at this. If there's still then the other piece could fall. Like this is what you're missing. Right. But when you're asked what you're missing, it wasn't clear. Right. Because what would actually happen because of the pattern is one time you'd miss this thing, one time you miss this. But the thing that you were missing was this presence and this not fixing. But when you decided and you really stepped into like, I'm not going to fail at this, like I'm going to succeed, then that path of here's the problem can be open and shown. And I want to go a little deeper into that too. It's because I think a lot of people are trained like that. And I want you to talk a little bit more about that. We talked about with energy, what like you would see the words or you would hear what your clients were speaking to you, but you were making up what else they were saying.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And for me, it comes from, doing the energy work and being a massage therapist, all the things that were just like one big bubble of what I did, is they could say that they had pain in their shoulder, but there would be pain somewhere else. So I had to dig and go beyond what they were saying or where they said the pain was and find the root of it. And I was doing the same thing with coaching. They were telling me specifically where they were at, but I was talking to them as if they were like 6 months in or 5 years in.
Right.
And I was like not connecting at all as to, and the other thing too is I wasn't listening. I wasn't being there with them in that moment, because if you had told me at the very beginning, you got to feel your feelings, I'd have been like, peace out, Cassie. I'm not hanging out with you. Instead, you told me, hey, you want to check out the Enchant Circle for 10 days? Join me here. And I'm like, I can do that.
Right.
Because I wanted to learn more about it. And then Manifest 10K. Oh yeah. Who doesn't want more money? I'm in for that. But if you had come at me, where I was in that point in my life, if you had said, hey, you got to feel your feelings to get what you want, or, to let it go, or all the things that go with feeling your feelings, I'd have been like, yeah, been there, done that. No, thanks. I'm out of here.
Yeah.
So recognizing that I could let go of the old way of doing things has made me, even in my own personal life, just in the last few weeks, being more present in the moment and hearing what's being said to me instead of going 10 steps forward as to I need to fix something or not. I can just be there in that moment, and that's a lot easier.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
And I think about that. I want to ask this question to you because I think you'll get it. Now, if you're a massage therapist, how would you treat that if someone said, oh, I have shoulder pain?
I would work on their shoulder. I would start there.
Which is interesting.
Instead of telling them, well, actually, It stems from it stems from this muscle back here. And we're going to start there because they're going to think I'm ignoring that their shoulder hurts.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to start at their shoulder, go where I need to go later.
Yes.
Ease into that because they won't come back. I mean, actually, I was a very good massage therapist, but I'm sure I did lose clients because I didn't hear what they were saying because I was fixing something else and their shoulder was still bothering them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I'm just using the shoulder as a reference.
But and they didn't feel heard because it was like, oh no, I know better, right? Which may or may not be true, but doesn't matter in those first connections. It's interesting because my aunt and I were actually just having this conversation about my massage therapist. And I said, he's so good. He does things different than any massage therapist I've ever experienced. And we were talking about that. And she said, exactly, you go in and you tell him this and they're like, oh, we'll get there, but we got to start at this spot, right? Which is the same spot. Like, I feel like every massage therapist starts at. And so it was really interesting to have this conversation with you today, because it's exactly I was like, yeah, he doesn't do that. He listens, he does what you want. He might explain, but he's going to do what you ask for first and get you to feel validated. And it's not tricky. This is life, right? We want to be heard. We say this all the time. Like, we want to be heard. We want to be acknowledged, want to be seen. And so, when that happens, we're open for more.
And it's interesting you brought the massage thing up, because I did have a client that she had a specific area. That's all she wanted me to work on. Mm-hmm. And it took a few visits for me to tell, to get her to the point where she trusted me to say, hey, if we work on this area over here, you're going to find relief in your neck.
Yes.
And then she was that one client, like, I couldn't get rid of her, even if I wanted to. I had to close my doors.
Yeah, because you heard her. You did what she wanted first, instead of probably what a long line of people had done in the past, which was ignore it and be like, no, this is it, right?
Yeah.
And what we know from LOA is that they are right.
Yes.
And when we fight that, we're fighting what they believe, right? We can introduce new thoughts. We can open and get more trusting. But when someone comes in and believes, like, you need to work, we'll just keep using the shoulder, on my shoulder, if we're ignoring that, we're going against, we're telling them it's not going to work because they believe that's where the problem is.
Yeah.
Yep.
That's so interesting.
It is. It's awesome.
Yeah.
This conversation even went deeper than I was expecting, and it's a pretty deep conversation.
It's amazing. Yeah.
Which brings me to another deep conversation and an assignment that you did, which was communicating with Joshua about your finances.
Oh yeah, that one.
So I want to tell that story and go through, because what I love about this was, I'll tell it in the middle, but it's like, I gave you an assignment and you come back with another question. And I'm like, did you do the first part yet? So tell us the story.
It was about, my financial situation was changing in the middle of September. And I kept asking all the questions about it, but it always went back to that first assignment or thing that you told me to do. And I kept like detouring around it. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to go through. And you kept saying, well, have you communicated with Joshua? No, I didn't want to. And finally, I made the choice that I'm going to communicate. Mm-hmm. It was very uncomfortable for me. That wasn't something that I wanted to do, but I knew I needed to do it. And then it was the most amazing conversation ever. It was so easy. I was like, oh my God, why did I wait so long? I'm like, I know that when Cassie tells me to do something or asks a question, there's a reason behind it. And I should listen instead of pushing and fighting against it. Because I ended up communicating about, finances with him, and he came back and said that, he's supporting me in what I'm doing right now with stepping into being a coach and the coach training and building my art stuff and learning all the digital things that go with that. And he said, when we get to that point, if you need to do something different, he goes, then, do something part-time, because I'm not saying you have to go work full-time.
Mm-hmm.
He goes, I know that you're showing up and you're doing this. He goes, and I support that. And now we have those conversations more often and more frequently, and they're easy and they're actually becoming really fun.
Yay. That's
Which
amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. But this is what we do, right? It's like okay, so this is coming up, and I can't even remember the original question because it was very like around the bush, right?
Oh yeah. Yep.
About, and what it came down to is, my financial situation changes in September. I'm still in coach training. These things are still important to me. And you were making up some stories in your head. And instead of bringing it out to the surface, right? And having a conversation with him about how he felt and how you were going to move through this together.
Yes.
Right. You're trying to like figure it out and you're like, and a lot of what was coming up is, I don't want to, right? I don't want to do this. I don't want to do this. And so we're pushing against that, and you're trying to manifest your way into feeling good about that, but I don't want that. And it's like, we should probably figure out if that even has to happen before we push against it, before we try to make ourselves feel good. Right. If it's go get a full-time job, and it wasn't go get a full-time job. Right. But we should get the facts first before we're, spinning out and trying to create and making ourselves feel good and deciding, does our future self do this? Like, we should figure out what the actual thing is, which is what kind of kept happening over and over until I was like, oh, we're not talking about this again until you go have a conversation.
Yeah. You totally called me out on my shit. You're like, hey, we need to talk.
Yeah.
I was like, okay, fine.
And it's so beautiful the way when we actually go and get the facts and communicate, even when it's hard, with someone that we love about this life that we're creating. The path gets easier. The path opens up. Right. And
and what I was doing with that situation was bringing up the past and how I thought that conversation was going to go. But I'm different now. And so is he. And we show up differently in our relationship.
Absolutely.
And I hadn't recognized or honored that. So actually doing that was growth for both of us, because I showed up being the person and the woman who knows how to communicate, whether it's finances or sex or what's for dinner or I don't want to cook, whatever it is. I can communicate those things with him now, and he can do the same thing.
Yes.
And it's okay if we don't agree.
Yeah. Because it doesn't mean anything, right? It's just
a conversation.
Yeah, just a conversation. And you just inspired me to one more question. And so this conversation happened a couple of weeks before your future self workshop, and you were doing your future self budget, and you had on that a chef. And I said, well, when you did your budget with your, 5-year coaching income, I said, oh, like, do you want to show this to Joshua? Like, see what's going to be different, or including all of his income, or how is this working? Right. And so tell us the story about the chef.
Yeah. So I showed it to him, and it didn't go quite as I wanted it to, I guess. Like, I think I had an opinion. And he's like, woman, he's like, we don't need anybody to cook our food. He goes, and you have a grocery budget of $600 on top of a chef? He goes, it's only the two of us. He goes, we don't need a chef. And I was like, oh, okay. Yeah, it's just going to be us. We can go out to eat or not, or use our air fryer or our Ninja thing, whatever. But I had this whole conversation with him. I'm like, well, then you're cooking. I'm not cooking. And I took the chef off, but later on I was like, oh yeah. So there was a little bit of, in that moment, there was some friction for me, because it's like, well, I want these things.
Right.
And it was like, I just wanted them to want them.
Yes.
And then when he came back with, well, I don't want those things, I was like, but I want them. So, and again, I think that was something from the past, but
Mhm.
it's, oh, well, yeah, I don't really need a chef. It's just going to be the two of us. And if I want to like have someone prepare our meals, or we could, I don't know what the DoorDash or whatever those things are. I
Yeah,
don't want to cook. I don't have to,
right.
but it's just the two of us. And I think I was spending like $1,000 on food and chef. Like, I don't even think I eat that much food in a month, but
Yeah, I
so
love
yeah,
that. And I love the way that it's this co-creation, right? Which is something that you want. And I think very often we think co-creation looks different. Oh, we have to sit down, we have to do the exact same things. And you've let go of this a long time ago, but that's how a lot of people think. Oh, if we're doing this, we both have to do the exact same assignments. We have to do this. But co-creation really is as simple as that conversation. Like, I'll cook and we'll invest this $1,000 on something else, right?
yeah,
And you both get what you want. There's more money in the pot for fun, I'm
yeah,
assuming. And you don't have to cook. And it empowers you as we're stepping into our future self to really say, oh yeah, this isn't what I want to do.
yeah,
But if you want to do it, great. That's awesome.
yeah. And again, it was a conversation that didn't go the way that I thought it would. And there was I think I was kind of slightly irritated that he didn't want a chef.
Mhm.
But he did tell me, he goes, well, you can hire someone to clean the house. He goes, because I don't want to clean.
See?
So it was fun having that experience of, oh, well, yeah, he's getting what he wants. I'm getting what I want, but I can't get what I want unless I ask for it or explain, not even explain, but him saying that about the whole grocery and chef, I'm like, oh, I don't really need a chef. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want to cook.
Right. That's what it is, right? I
Yeah.
don't want to do this. And so, yeah.
And that's what it was. I think that's what the irritation was about. It's like, well, I want a chef because I don't want to cook.
Mhm.
If I just said, well, I don't want to cook, it could have been a totally different conversation. But I had
Right?
to own the fact that I don't want to cook,
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
which is so interesting. So yeah, it was
it is.
so much fun.
It is so much fun. And I definitely know he even helped you step into your future self further because he helped you see what you knew, but you weren't fully seeing is happening in your life in 5 years. I think that's amazing.
Yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Any final thoughts in your mind or on your heart that you want to share today?
No, the last, right before the Future Self workshop this time, and then after this workshop, literally, I can see, I can hear, I can feel, I can taste my future life. And I know that it's coming, and I trust it, and I trust myself. And it's amazing. Get at this point in the journey, it's just been amazing. And I am so excited for the day when I can guide my clients to this moment
Yes.
of having this feeling of getting everything they've ever wanted.
Yay, absolutely. And if you want to be one of those clients, Kimberly's waiting list is open. You get the benefit of this amazing woman as your coach and your guide, and you get the time-tested, proven systems of Manifest 10K, the Future Self Workshop, and stepping into your future self assignments. You get all of that I have tested over the last 7 years, and you get an amazing coach to go with that. So if you're feeling called to work with Kimberly, just go to CassieParks.com and get on her waiting list so that you can be one of her amazing clients having this experience 20 months from now.
Oh, hell yeah.
Right? Amazing. Thank you, Kimberly, for sharing this moment in your journey with us.
Thank you so much, Cassie.
My pleasure. And thank you all for listening. Make sure to come back and check out what else is awesome in Kimberly's life next time.
Thank you for joining us on the Law of Attraction, Manifesting Success Stories show. To learn how to identify your current money story, go to identifyyourmoneystory.com.